election 2020. Since Election Day, Dominion voting machines have been the subject of baseless claims amplified by powerful elected officials, most notably President Trump, alleging that the machines switched thousands of votes in key battleground states from Trump to Biden. This is an assertion that has no evidence. NewsNOW from Fox spoke to a representative from Dominion about how the company is responding to these attacks and ensuring integrity in this election and future ones. NewsNOW from Fox's Andrew Kraft has this story.
We're joined by Michael Steele, a representative of Dominion Voting Machines, and we want to thank you so much for joining us here on NewsNOW to kind of break down a lot of these claims that are out there about Dominion, about what transpired in the 2020 election, especially in regards to these battleground states where litigation is still ongoing at the moment. So I want to just kind of start out with this tweet that the president quote tweeted yesterday. And he essentially said that this idea from this tweet was, quote, interesting. And in that tweet, it was essentially saying that, should Dominion be classified or categorized as a threat to U.S. national security? I just wanted your response to that. The president said that idea was interesting.
Of course not. Look, this is a nonpartisan company founded in Canada, headquarters here in the United States today. It is the gold standard in some ways in determining transparent, verifiable election results. Every time we've gone back, Georgia election officials are about to recertify again after another recheck, another recanvass, that the Dominion machines accurately reflected the will of the voters. There is nothing to these charges at this point.
And I kind of just want to keep it initially to some of these basic questions. So I'm going to ask you, what essentially, just for the average voter, what does a Dominion voting machine do? What does it tabulate?
Sure. So one of the great things about our country, our system, is that states are allowed to set their own rules for elections. State elected officials make these choices. So it's a little different in each state. So I'm going to use Georgia as an example, just because we've talked a lot about Georgia over the past couple of weeks. In Georgia, a voter comes to the poll, a local elected official or poll watcher checks them in, gives them a one-time use card, they go to a machine, and they get a touch panel that shows all their local races from president down to dog catcher. They make their selections on the touch screen, and then they get a paper ballot reflecting the results that they chose. They verify that that information is correct, and then they turn that ballot over to a local elected official for safekeeping in a secure storage unit. I want to be very clear. What we do is operate the machines that record the voter's intent. Elected officials check them in, elected officials secure the ballots, and the machines in between elections.
So is it incumbent upon the state to have a paper record of that, or is that on Dominion's behalf?
It's actually a choice that some states make. We offer that option. And in this case, the state keeps the records. We simply produce them and allow voters to verify them. What we basically have is a smart pen and a machine that counts. But the thing that I want to emphasize here is you hear a lot of conspiracies involving changing vote counts in the machines, running sheets through multiple times. None of that works because you have the hard copies. You have the paper ballots at the end of this process. That's why you can go back in Georgia and check again and find that the initial results were accurate.
I kind of wanted to also just kind of ask about, the software that these machines use. Could it be open to some type of, hacking or malintent, or is there even room for that? What safeguards does Dominion have in place for something like that?
I mean, the tabulators, the machines that do the counting, are not connected to the internet. The technical term is air gapped. They are not connected to the internet at all. Now, however, even if somehow a local elected official colluded with someone to try to modify the system, the paper ballots wouldn't match. We have a physical record of voters' intent, and so any attempt to change the numbers in the equipment would be easily detectable on the back end.
I see. Can you kind of go into the training that these poll workers would kind of take in order to operate one of the machines? Is it extensive? Is it kind of day of? What does that look like?
No, there's a training regimen. It varies state to state depending on the machine and depending on what you're doing. I mean, but again, that's determined by the states and the local elected officials who are ultimately responsible for administering our elections.
And can you kind of go into the, the number of states that use Dominion? Is it, every county in every state that uses Dominion, or certain counties in certain states?
We work in 28 states across the U.S. Many of them are statewide. Others are only on a county-by-county basis. In Pennsylvania, for example, we have 14 counties. You should know that in those counties, those 14 counties, the president won with 52% of the vote. If you look at the counties where we administer in Wisconsin, the president's team asked for a recount in Milwaukee and Dane County, Madison, Wisconsin, basically. We don't operate the machines in those jurisdictions. In the jurisdictions where our machines operate, the president won with 59% of the vote.
Michael, does Dominion have any affiliations to, the Chinese Communist Party, the People's Republic of China, Cuba, Venezuela, these communist countries that's out there right now? And
Right.
people are really latching on to this idea of the kind of this communist infiltration into these voting machines. What says Dominion about that?
That's absolutely untrue. We have no connections to Venezuela or Cuba or the Chinese Communist Party. This is an American company founded in Canada, headquartered in Colorado. We have no connections with any of those regimes.
And does Dominion have a board of directors? I'm assuming
it does.
And do any of those board members essentially have affiliations with either, Speaker Nancy Pelosi,
no,
the Clinton Global Initiative,
no,
or the like?
No. All of these conspiracy theories have been debunked. There is no connection whatsoever with Senator Feinstein, Speaker Pelosi, their families, the Clinton Global Initiative, George Soros, the Communist Party. None of these things are true.
So in a sense, now that all of these claims are out there and they're being promulgated by very powerful people to kind of cast the election as, not valid or, dismissing the integrity of it, how does Dominion, kind of essentially put the toothpaste back in the tube? Is that even possible? Can you kind of go into some of those efforts, or are they futile at this point?
It's absolutely possible, and it's necessary. And that's why we've supported these efforts across the board to go back time and time again, to audit our results, to check our work, to make sure that the American people get a transparent, accountable election. And it's particularly important because we have another election, or rather two elections, looming in Georgia. The Georgia Senate races will determine the balance of power in the United States Senate. We want people to have confidence that the machines used in that election will be reliable. And we think that they are, and we hope that, we've had tremendous support from Georgia elected officials. We've had tremendous support from secretaries of state and others who use our products across the country. But we want to assure the American people that these elections are transparent and accountable.
And can you kind of go into the process of, the contracting process itself? Does Dominion reach out to the states? Do the states reach out to Dominion, and kind of break it down on like the state and federal level? Kind of what is the procedure like that?
Well, the federal government has practically no role in these things other than the Election Assistance Commission certifying that the equipment is valid and good.
And can you kind of go into that as well a little bit?
Well, these machines have to be certified for use in by the Federal Election Administration, but really it's a state-by-state process. And that's, in some states, make it a county-by-county process. That's why you've got states like Georgia where every county uses Dominion machines, and other states like Pennsylvania and Wisconsin where some counties do and some counties don't. We have competitors. This is an open market. We think that we provide a gold standard premium service in terms of transparency and accountability because of the record provided by the paper ballot. And that's kind of the case that we make to local elected officials.
And just to clarify, so every machine does have a paper record with it, or is that's up to the states?
That's up to the states.
Okay. So as far as, the elections going forward, we have the Senate runoff in Georgia, obviously 2022, 2024. Do you anticipate Dominion having a smaller role in those elections because of all this, or even a larger one?
I mean, I hope it'll be larger. I think that we've proven throughout this process that our devices are the gold standard when it comes to election integrity and security and transparency. And we hope that other elected officials, the people who run our elections, will see that and will choose to use our equipment going forward.
And just kind of, I wanted to bring up that one example that people have been citing, especially on social media, in Antrim County, Michigan.
Sure.
What happened there, and can voters expect that just as human error, or what was that about? So essentially, several thousand votes showed up for Joe Biden, but they were really for President Trump, if I recall.
There was a human error in the county. They were initially reported for the former vice president. It was quickly noticed and quickly corrected. President Trump won that county with 2,500 votes. So I think look, you're gonna see examples of people making mistakes on something this big and complicated every now and again. But the important thing to take away from that is that the system worked. The error was detected and corrected within the hour, and the president got his votes.
I see. And just going back to those technical safeguards within the machines themselves, though, is there any, just to wrap this up again, is there any kind of, vulnerability or glitch or something that could happen somewhere that could essentially not be detected?
We have no evidence anywhere at this point that, again, isolated human errors aside, we've had to update a few times, but we have no experience, nothing to suggest any kind of widespread fraud. And again, as in Georgia, whenever we go back, we count again, we check again. This is the third time we've done it there. The numbers match, the paper ballots match, and the results have been certified.
What do you chalk all this talk up to, these claims? Is it, a misunderstanding, amongst the average voter like myself about our process or the technology involved? What do you think is the reason that's driving all this right now? Or is it just because, people are mad that the president lost?
I don't want to get into anyone's motivation. All I can tell you is that in the jurisdictions where our products was used, we have checked and rechecked and can assure you that the ballots were counted fairly and accurately and in a transparent fashion in accordance with our laws and our Constitution.
Is there anything Dominion might do differently in these elections going forward, 2022, 2024, that you can think of that would kind of, instill more confidence in them?
I think we always want to look for ways to improve, but I don't have any specific thoughts on that at this point.
Okay. Is there anything else maybe I didn't touch on that you want to add? I know we covered a lot of these claims because, they're out there. The people who are watching, especially NewsNOW, they're commenting, and they're commenting a lot about Dominion. You're seeing it on social media. So if there's anything I didn't touch on that you want to just kind of bring up.
No, I mean, I think that the only thing I'd add is that sometimes these baseless attacks, these distorted charges, are not just wrong in the sense that they undercut confidence in our elections and the whole system that our democracy is based on, but they can also be dangerous. I mean, people are reading this stuff. Some of them are acting on it or threatening to act on it. And I would really urge everyone to try and be as calm, to go to trusted sources of information, look to your secretaries of state, look to the federal government to establish the facts rather than going off something that you may have seen on social media.
And just lastly, now that I remember, but voting is such an integral part of our democracy. It's such a privilege. Do you worry that a lack of confidence in these systems could depress turnout in elections going forward? I know you're not an elected official, but I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
I certainly hope not. And I think that one of the reasons that this company was founded, following the Bush v. Gore recount, following the Help America Vote Act, a lot of companies were starting up doing pure electronic balloting, pure electronic voting. And the founders of Dominion said, there is always going to be a place for that permanent physical record, that paper ballot being important to supply the paper chain, to have a verifiable, recountable. It's the essence of the gold standard of accountability when it comes to our elections. And that's why we do things the way we do.
And we should note also that election officials did say that 95% of the votes cast this election had a paper record and a paper ballot associated with it. So, well, Michael Steele, we want to thank you so much for coming on News Now from Fox to kind of break all of that, all those claims down for our viewers. I think it's really important, and we hope you have a good day. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you.
We're joined.
Our thanks, Andrew, our very own Andrew.